Succession. To me, this show is an absolute work of art. I'd like to imagine the way I view Succession is the same way Michelangelo viewed Pieta before he tainted it with his own signature. I describe this show to my friends as the godfather of TV, but I feel it's best to describe it as the more realistic and dramatic version of Arrested Development. The Other Guys may be the funniest film I've ever seen, and The Big Short landed a secure spot on my top 4 films on Letterboxd. So this show definitely caught my attention when I found out Adam McKay was an executive producer on the project, as well as the fact that it was filmed in a similar style as The Big Short. My knowledge of the creator Jesse Armstrong had been that he wrote one of the best episodes of Black Mirror, and co-created one of the funniest shows ever made. However impressive their previous filmography was, this is their Pieta. This is their magnum opus. So let's talk about the first season of Succession. And quick warning, there will be spoilers ahead for all of season 1. The opening of this season is perfect. In these 2 little opening scenes, we see everything we need to know about Kendall and Logan Roy. When we first see Logan, he wakes up in the middle of the night disoriented and ends up taking a leak on his carpet. When we first see Kendall, we get into his perspective as he sits in the back of his town car listening to music and getting pumped for the big day. Then we suddenly change perspectives and observe him as an outsider as he's comedically singing to himself. This opening perfectly establishes the disadvantages threatening each character from being the CEO of Waystar: age and arrogance. Then we see the intro. Oh my pancakes. The intro. In this intro, they cut between Super 8mm footage of the Roy family and 35mm shots of modern day New York City, a perfect contrast to set the tone for the rest of the season, as the main struggle of the season is the new young successor wanting to adapt to a changing market by investing in news outlets on social media, versus the old, antiquated CEO who wants to buy up all the dying local TV news stations. Plus, in this intro, we get to see a glimpse of how Logan was such a dismissive father, but we'll get to that in a second. Adam McKay has repeatedly expressed that the Roys are not entirely based on the Murdochs, aka the real-life version of the Roy family. In an interview with Deadline when talking about the Roy family, McKay claimed, "Sure, there's 2 cups of flour in this recipe that are the Murdochs, but there's another cup that's the Maxwells, the Trumps, and the royal families." It's also clear that Succession has some great parallels with King Lear. In fact, Roy is French for king. King Lear is a tragedy by William Shakespeare, where Lear finds that it's time to step down from his position as king, and is then left to divide his kingdom between his 3 daughters, Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia. Lear decides that he will divide the kingdom based on whichever daughter loves him more. Goneril and Regan announce their love for their father in front of the court, and they are each rewarded with a divided part of the king's realm. But Lear's 3rd daughter, Cordelia, decides to say nothing, claiming that words cannot properly express the love she has for her father. Lear is unable to see her honesty and awards her with nothing, even though Cordelia loved her father, while Goneril and Regan saw him as an incompetent boomer. Basically, a bunch of political stuff happens and everybody dies. You know, Shakespeare. But the important takeaway is the message of this tragedy. That message being actions speak louder than words. In fact, actions are the only things that matter. In Succession, we're never really laughing with the characters, we're always laughing at them. And this is due to the fact that a lot of the time, the characters aren't really saying anything.
Butterfly wings, but bigger, huge wings, like a pterodactyl, or the Smithsonian.
Barely comprehensible.
Kendall Roy even states,
Yeah, it was words. Words are just, what? Nothing. Complicated airflow, so...
The characters say one thing, but do another. Logan is basically the King Lear who learned the message of the play before the play started. While King Lear makes his decision based on flattery, Logan makes his decision based on how much the kids are willing to sacrifice for the company. Less of what they say and more of what they do. Kendall suffers from a little thing called not taking a hint from your dad syndrome. It's a crippling illness that prevents you from being CEO of Waystar. Kendall showing up to Logan's birthday lunch is what pushed Logan's decision to stay on as CEO. Kendall choosing the birthday lunch over prioritizing an important deal was his mistake. And on top of that, he ended up overbidding on the new company they were acquiring. Later on, you can visibly see the disapproval on Logan's face in New Mexico when Roman, the still appointed chief operating officer, chooses to get Kendall instead of prioritizing his phone call with Japan. Logan holds a tremendous amount of power politically, financially, and within his own family. During the therapy session, Logan is reminded by the doctor who dives headfirst into a pool of how much power Logan wields in that room. Take Roman, for example. Roman proposes to this woman he just met after he claims,
"Oh my god, holy Dad would go nuts for you should do it."
As well as his mom making a quick comment to him saying,
"You should marry that one."
Excuse me?
The kids are constantly seeking their parents' approval, especially their fathers. During the family therapy session, Logan repeatedly says, "Everything I've done for my family." Whether this is entirely true is still up for debate, as he had to smear Kendall with his own news outlets to save the face of the company. And the only reason Logan attends this family therapy session is because the family drama was hurting the stock price. Logan views the company as his legacy, and must see it as the one thing that will secure his family. There's a King Lear quote that stands out to me when I watch this show. That quote being, "How sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child." Logan's kids are spoiled, entitled, and absolutely childish. In fact, everyone in this show is despicable. But above all else, with an exception of possibly Shiv, every Roy who controls the fate of Waystar is unfit to be where they are. Kendall suffers from drug addiction, is a terrible negotiator, and unknowingly allowed Sandy to enter the company. Roman rushed a rocket launch against the team's wishes, which resulted in the rocket exploding. And the only reason he rushed it is because he wanted the rocket to launch on Shiv's wedding day. And Connor is just, I feel like I don't even have to say anything. Shiv getting brought on to Gil's campaign may have been a tactic to get Gil closer to Logan, due to the fact that Gil's so persistent about taking down ATN. The point being, like Greg, the only thing that got them into the company was their name. So Logan wants to leave the position of king to one of his kids, but doesn't feel like any of them are ready. When they were kids, Kendall put Roman in a dog cage. Logan interpreted the dog cage shenanigans as punishing the weak ones, so everyone else knew the hierarchy. This is what Logan did to Kendall. Kendall attacked Logan, but wasn't strong enough to remove Logan from his throne during the vote of no confidence. So Logan punishes Kendall by destroying his reputation in the news, by having him labeled as a drug addict. Later on, Logan even makes the same threat to Shiv, that he will have people come after her if she doesn't stop helping her dad's political opponent, as Shiv helping run Gil's campaign was hurting the reputation of Logan and subsequently hurting the stock price of Waystar. Gil and Logan were going to continue to go at it. Gil was wanting to take down ATN, and Logan was using the network to attack Gil, using his own wife against him. So Shiv needed to find leverage over Logan and Waystar to stop ATN from attacking Gil. Shiv had Tom tell her everything he knew about the Cruise Division cover-ups. Tom, being the one to give the orders to shred the documents, was a pretty reputable source. Shiv uses this information as blackmail against her father, threatening that if Logan doesn't lay off Gil for the general election, she will reveal what was covered up. During this conversation she has with Jerry, Shiv manages to save Tom by demanding that they move him on or up in the company. In the 1980s, Logan took out a loan of $3.25 billion in order to expand Waystar's parks, a division of Waystar that is currently stagnant when it comes to profits. Kendall, trying to find a solution to this issue, asks Stewie to use his private equity fund to pay off the loan and invest into the company. In return, Stewie would get voting stock and a board seat, as well as make a fair amount of profit when the Waystar stock jumps back up. However, Kendall was unaware that Sandy Furness, longtime enemy of Logan, had a shell company attached to Stewie's private equity fund. After Kendall's failed attempt to have a vote of no confidence against Logan, Kendall is fired and removed from the board. However, Kendall still had $500 million worth of Waystar stock, so he joins Sandy and Stewie and plans a hostile takeover of the company. They would essentially attempt a bear hug, an acquisition strategy where one company offers to buy the other company's shares at a price well above market value. This is typically done when the company's leadership is in question, or when the stock price falls below a desired number, and shareholders are looking for a change in leadership or a way out. Waystar's stock price was already in the toilet. The last time we heard about the share price this season, it fell below 130. Sandy and Kendall were offering 140 a share, which is more than enough to let Sandy's private equity buy out the company. Kendall and the new team were originally going to wait at most 10 days before doing the bear hug. They couldn't spare any leaks within this time frame. However, Stewie told Kendall that the Canadians, aka the pension fund guys, were hesitant with the takeover as they didn't have faith in Kendall as the new CEO. So instead of letting Stewie just handle the situation, insecure Kendall talked to Frank about the bear hug. Frank, feeling like Kendall wouldn't have a position secured for him at Waystar, revealed to other parties that there might be something happening. Sandy got word and expedited the bear hug letter. The bear hug letter has to be delivered to the board members and upper management. It presents them with the info about how much the hostile buyer is willing to purchase the shares at a fairly raised price. Kendall delivered the letter to Logan, and Logan scrambled. Logan would not settle. He would be hostile, but was most likely going to lose, because he was talking about getting the president's assistance at one point, so he was really pulling out all of the stops. However, the drug habit Logan reignited in Kendall causes Kendall to get in a car accident on his way to get more drugs. The passenger is confirmed dead. Logan has the accident successfully covered up, so that no one would know Kendall was involved. Logan claimed that Kendall's room card was found somewhere near where the car went into the water. So, Logan changes the narrative like he does with the news, as he makes up a story that the caterer broke into Kendall's room and stole a few things, including Kendall's room card. Kendall has no choice but to back down from the takeover, as Logan secures his spot as king. And that's all I have to say today about Succession Season 1. If you love Succession and want to see me keep talking about this show, comment below and let me know, and subscribe to support the channel. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you in my next Ending Explained.